going on, guys? This is for the vlog part, the Starrcast part. Still in the hotel. We got CM Punk and Mick Foley stage shows today that we will be going to. This holiday Yeah, we got the CM Punk and Mick Foley stage shows for today, and then we have All Out later this evening, and we know the main All Out's going to be the biggest part, but this is going to be a vlog of CM Punk and Mick Foley, basically, for what I'm doing at Starrcast. I'm having meet and greets today. We have a meet and greet tomorrow against Cody. Got the rockfish right now. No count. Some good apple juice. See you guys after this.
They kept stopping them.
Get in there like an hour early.
All those peaks and the line. Yeah, I noticed that too.
CM Punk! 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 Yeah!
So you didn't cancel? No, I didn't. I wanted to send out, I told Conrad this when I saw him today, I wanted to send out a tweet that said I was too sunburned as a pro wrestling environment. And I don't necessarily know that's just because of me and my past and where I come from and everything, but like, I'm immediately reminded of a couple years ago at the New York Comic Con when I got to do a panel with Jim. I hosted the panel for Jim Starlin.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and so Jim Starlin obviously he created like every single Marvel character that you all love watching movies about. Jim has pretty much had his fingerprints all over it. So like there was a very pro wrestling crowd. You know what I mean? Like I was getting pro wrestling questions, and I was like, let's talk about Jim because I was there to talk about Jim. And same thing, hosted a panel for Don Coscarelli last year at the New York Comic Con. And it was a very pro wrestling crowd. So I just feel like no matter where I go, it's always a pro wrestling crowd. And I just think that's because pro wrestling is American pop culture. I think at some point in your life, everybody has liked pro wrestling.
That'd be very sweet. So, where are you going? What are you doing? And like, what's life like now for CM Punk? Where even after all these years, when are you coming back? Is it weird?
No, I don't think it's weird. I think it's flattering. You know, it's a testament to, I guess, what I've done and the mark I've left on a business that obviously everybody in this room, I think, loves. I think that's pretty cool, you know, and that's... trust me, people ask me that all the time, too, so you know, it's a nice healthy balance of both.
So I mentioned a couple of these rumors and speculations that are floating around about you. Before we go any further, we dive into the past and some of the stuff you're doing today. You want to address any of this stuff? AEW, Fox, any of this?
I mean, none of it's. I'm not going to be anywhere. Ape was in Los Angeles for like a week and a half. So I haven't seen her in a minute. So I'm going to be hanging out with her tonight. I hate to burst anybody's bubble. I'm sorry. I don't know when did I was going to leave. And I wound up re-signing, and before that, I remember 2010, maybe, I remember being in, I think, San Diego, and Austin was in San Diego, and he was just strictly there, and I can't remember why he was there, and I just remember looking at him and being like, you know what, fuck it, and I walked up to him and I go, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you're here. I go, I gotta work a dark match after this. I go, do you mind coming out and just giving me a stunner, and how else are we gonna send these people home? You know what I mean? He was like, God damn, yeah, all right, kid. And here's the guy, and he literally was like, I've been back here I don't know how many times, and nobody ever asked me that before. And I was just like, why the fuck hasn't anybody asked this guy? Because I was like, I'm out the door, I might as well, be able to say I took a stunner. And I remember, like, I grabbed, like, all the heels that were involved. It was, like, me, R-Truth, like, everybody. And I was like, oh, here's the deal, guys. He's going to come out and he's going to stun everybody. And everybody was just like, what? I think maybe Miz was involved. And it just turned into a fun, goofy thing where, we got to do it. And I think that's kind of where Steve kind of took a liking to me, you know what I mean? Because again, like, if you never ask, the answer is always no. And dude just kind of would always be backstage sitting around. I guess, like, I don't know if he was waiting for somebody to ask. So that's when I started, like, prodding him, being like, support this match, motherfucker, let's go. You know what I mean? And I think there was a sliver in time where it was going to happen. And then, the next minute it didn't. But so I kind of look at myself, not that I'm of Steve Austin's caliber, but I kind of look at myself like that now, and I wonder, because I'll see people like Marty Scurll, I know has.
Marty Scurll, yeah.
Did I pronounce his name right? I always want to call him Scurll because I'm a Marvel Comics guy, and I know it's probably annoying to him, but he's a super nice guy. I did the C2E2 signing, and me and him were like right next to each other. He's great, and I saw that he said he would like to wrestle me, and I was always kind of like, oh, that's.
So now you're Austin.
What?
Now you're the Steve Austin.
I mean, maybe kind of, but it's interesting how that works because, like, again, I can tell you, I sit here like, I know who Will Ospreay is. Just because I don't watch wrestling, I've never seen him wrestle. I've seen, the clips on Twitter of him doing shit, and I just go, Jesus Christ, like, like, wow, I can't. I'd be able to do something with that. I can't do that. But I do think it speaks to taking the initiative and, like, so like a guy like him, and it's only because he put the foot forward. I look at guys like Kenny Omega, and I know he's like the big match, guy now, and I kind of look at him and I'm just like, I don't even know if I'd be able to keep up with these people now. But then again, I overtrain, and I try to bike 35 miles a day, and like I overdo it all the time. I don't know, but there's no one person that like jumps out at me and I go, oh, that guy.
You mentioned
and that goes back to what we just talked about. On what planet, in what other business does somebody suspend somebody else and then they like don't come get them after the suspension? Like, why is it up to me? It's just a weird situation. But that being said, I'm over it. I've been over it for a very long time. It's in the past. I'm 40 years old, and I try to be as zen and as wise as I possibly can be. And my life has taught me a lot of the times that I would be confrontational when there's maybe no need to be confrontational. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, like, really, who gives a shit? You're gonna see them at the red light. People who are racing to that red light, like, I'm not racing to that red light anymore. Like, and this is the dangerous thing, and this will be taken out of context, and this will be lesser websites clickbait for the next week. But I'll have a conversation with anybody, but it's nothing I'm reaching. Like, I'm not calling them, But if they were like, oh hey. I'll talk to you, and see what you got to say, but it better be good. Thank you. Me and Mike actually go back a lot. Like, I asked Mike to do this. Mike used to host these bus rides.
Yeah, bus trips.
Yeah,
Ring of
from
Honor.
New York to Philly, Ring of Honor, and I would come on the bus and do like quick Q&As with everybody who's brave enough to ride a bus from New York to Philly to watch some pro wrestling, because I just thought that was so cool. But I do remember one time when I was in IWA, I emailed you and I was like, we should do bus rides to Ted Petty Invitational, and you never
I was
replied.
like, yeah, that's not
you
happening.
never replied to me.
I don't remember it. I don't even remember the email.
Yeah, hey, thanks everybody. I feel like I was gonna say, no, thank you. Hey, this is real life. Like, I was completely anxious coming out here and nervous because how do I fill 90 minutes? And I kept telling people that, and a couple buddies of mine were like, dude, just go live in the moment like you always do and just be you. And that's what I try to do. So hopefully nobody's disappointed. There wasn't like a big announcement or anything like that. My purpose for doing this obviously was just kind of to come feel like I'm hanging out with a room full of friends and I get to meet you all, sign stuff for you, and hopefully, man, I hate the word put a smile on people's faces, but I hope to give you a couple memories you can bring home and, well, true, and I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
That's it.
Thank you, Punk. Thank you, Punk. Thank you, Punk. Thank you, Punk. Thank you, Punk.
So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for watching on Fight.tv on pay-per-view and right here, obviously in Chicago. Enjoy the rest of your Starrcast experience. My name is Mike Johnson, and he is the best in the world.